Hi everybody, as promised I'm going to look at the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction chart done for mundane astrology. Now, one of the things you can do it's quite traditional in mundane astrology, is take the moment of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and cast a chart for a certain place. So here I've done it for London, and it can give you an idea of the themes that will be facing that particular place, represented by the capital city in that country, over the 20-year period that's represented by the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, this time happening in Aquarius. So here I've got it for the United Kingdom. Now, you'll notice that, let's go over here to the thing, you'll notice that the ascendant is 0 degrees of Leo, so that's like a double powerful Leo influence, right? Now, because the moment of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is set, the main relevance to different parts of the world will be where the ascendant falls, and then the rulership of the ascendant, midheaven, descendant, blah blah blah. So you're not so focused on in which sign planets fall, you're more focused on the houses in which they fall and the rulerships. Now when you look at Europe, nearly all the European capitals had Leo rising. The UK being the last capital that's on 0 degrees, I noted that Moscow was on 29 degrees of Leo, which is Regulus, which is why I think Russia are going to be a powerful force, not to be underestimated in these 20 years. Why the focus on Russia? Now, apparently, the Committee of 300, which is at the inner core of the control mechanism that we see driving global agendas, Stalin, for all his faults, was never on board with that. He never really signed up to it. So after the fall of the Soviet Union, when we had people like Boris Yeltsin and all that, he was just a lackey to all that, as was Gorbachev, who if you look at my Agenda 21 video, Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and Agenda 21, Gorbachev was well on board with all this climate change stuff way back when, in the 90s. So he was always on board. Yeltsin was on board. But then comes along Putin, and they say that he hasn't been on board. Look, we know that he's taken a hard line on Soros, Brada, the banks, it seems, although, currently he doesn't seem to be going against much of the agenda, but they say Putin was never on board with this Committee of 300, which is why Russia's a target, and always has been, and why they're pushing the rhetoric like they had the solar winds thing, and it was China. But no, they blame Russia. So anything that happens, they're looking to blame Russia. We know they had the incident in the UK with the Scribbles, and more recently in Germany with the, I forget his name, but it's like a Russian opposition leader. They're always sowing the seed in everyone's mind. It's Russia, Putin, bad, bad, bad. Right, so I think it's quite significant that for Russia, that ascendant was at 29 degrees conjunct Regulus, the most powerful point on the zodiac. And of course we know Trump's ascendant was also 29 degrees Leo, and as much as he could, he did push back, but there were problems, of course. So what's interesting as well is for the UK, you can see that all the planets, including the ruling planet, the sun, because it's Leo rising, fall in the 6th house of health, but it's also the house of industry, the house of pensions, employment, etc. We will see that the ruler of the midheaven is Mars, which is very, very strong because it is in Aries in the 10th house. Now, for countries like Germany, Mars was actually on the midheaven, which showed to me that the leadership of Germany, that a very, very powerful leader will emerge in Germany, more so than in the UK, because you've got Mars separated from the ascendant. But in Germany, you've got the Leo, the midheaven, should I say. In Germany, you've got the Leo ascendant. Most of the planets fall in the 5th house. And there you've got Mars bang on the midheaven, which is square to Pluto, as you can see there, Pluto in Capricorn, and it is actually also square to the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, indicating to me that a powerful leader will emerge in Germany, probably the leader that's going to go up against Russia. I've said it before, but I have to reiterate because I think, obviously we tend to forget, and I might have new viewers watching me for the first time. So interestingly, let's go back to the UK's chart. I have a feeling that the UK is going to take a lead in terms of the health agenda. So that includes the V word, the vaccine passports, the continued rollout of regular gene therapy or inoculations in order to advance biological agenda. Now, biology is very important because Leo and the sun rule biology and biochemistry. And so the theme is indicated in all the European charts is, of course, Leo rising, hence biology, biochemistry. Haven't all of us become a little bit more of biological experts? I'm tending to remember things I learned in school biology, like the mitochondria and the ribosomes, the things about the DNA that we are now beginning to understand by learning how the messenger RNA works, etc., or the attenuated viruses, what that's about, or the chimpanzee vector viruses, which is the Oxford one, and also the J&J. So biology is key. What is also key in terms of this Leo rising is sun rules gold. So will this mean a return to the gold standard, an increase in the price of gold, an increase in the relevance of gold as currencies crash, and financially there's a meltdown? Now, I was noting that Dr. Coleman, who gave speeches and who wrote extensively on the Committee of 300, said every time the world's finance members meet on the Royal Yacht Britannia, which of course the Royal Yacht Britannia was commissioned quite a number of years ago, so he's talking a little bit of time away, but he said every time the financial elites meet on the Royal Yacht Britannia when it's moored off Venice, it's before a financial crash. And I do note that the G20 this year, we're meeting in Italy, right? So as part of that, it happened just the other week in February. The finance ministers from around the world met in Italy. Now, they met virtually because, of course, coronavirus and everything. So they met virtually, but it was scheduled to be in Italy, and so it was hosted from Italy. So could they have been discussing that financial crash, as he indicated, always gets done when the world leaders meet in Italy? Now, so, as I say, the increasing importance of gold, it may back a new cryptocurrency, a new world currency. I did a video back in October where I talked about how this new planned digital currency would work, and that it would be, in effect, a return to a gold standard, which, of course, is going to win it lots of favor with a lot of people. And yet, if the same people in control of it, it's not going to be any better for the man in the street, and it's not going to resolve these massive problems we facing here with this nexus of control that's got to, it's got us like this. So yeah, so the other thing about Leo rising and the sun as the ruler of the ascendant is the nobility. Now, what we also have here with Mars in Aries ruling the midheaven is increased control, forceful control, leadership. This could also indicate martial law, of course, because Mars is the sign, and Aries is the sign of the army, leadership, army, martial law, the strength of the army behind the leader, military leadership, military dictatorship. A few themes like that going on in terms of Europe, not so much the UK, because there is that separation there. So let's go back to the nobility. Now, the story as he talks about it with the Committee of 300 is the great wealth of Europe was kind of seeded during the days when Venice and Genoa were the trading capitals of the world, right? And then that kind of moved into the Dutch East India Company when Antwerp, and that was also the centers, and then that became the British Empire with Cecil John Rhodes. What were the and all this time, the most wealthy aristocratic families throughout Europe stemming out of Venice and Rome and into the rest of Europe, consolidating their wealth through trade, through mining, through the opium wars, which were used to bring in a lot of income through China, and then of course the Dutch East India Company, world trade. Then, of course, the British Empire, again, the key assets and strategic points around the world being used to generate massive income for the Committee of 300 and the families at the center of that, from whence the great power stems. And like he was saying, the wealth of the people in the Committee of 300 make Rockefeller look like a, small time. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to this. So again, not only do we have a massive influence on the house of health, we also have Chiron, which signifies health and healing, on the midheaven for the UK. So again, UK taking a leading role in terms of this whole health agenda. Now, you can see there that the actual Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that happened on 0 degrees of Aquarius is bang on the descendant of the UK, meaning the UK is a pivotal key country in the unfolding of themes related to the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. What are those themes? I see it as representing the technocracy. You've got Saturn-Jupiter represents great wealth, right? We've got Aquarius, the sign of technology, advancement, computers. So I do think that this signifies, I mean, what better symbols for the World Economic Forum than Jupiter, Saturn in Aquarius? And that is the people who the UK in partnership is signified by the seventh house. So are we saying the UK is in partnership strongly with the World Economic Forum? Well, we see Hancockers over there, Prince William, Prince Charles, Boris Johnson with his Build Back Better singing from that hymn sheet. I think Global Britain, which was also something catchphrase we were hearing, is riding on the coattails of this whole World Economic Forum agenda, which I think it's going to fail, but that's something maybe for another vlog. Now, what have we got here? Pluto, the sign of revolution, in the sixth house of employment, hence, and also industry. So we have Pluto, house of employment, the fourth industrial revolution. We also have indicated here with Pluto a total transformation on the way people work, because the sixth house is all about work life, your routines, the industries in a country, the way people work, and that is undergoing massive change because of Pluto there, as indicated with fourth industrial revolution. So we should see in the UK a massive rollout of 5G, Internet of Things, everything in order to hook us up. That's why, I mean, in this country, the push for the, is so above and beyond, apart from places like Israel, which are obviously heavily involved in this nexus of control as well. There's been a big push. Just incidentally, as I do this thing, there's the controversy going on where 17 countries have now either suspended temporarily or pending the AZOX jab, right? And I'm thinking that this has got to all be part of a hoax or a power play, because it's not as if the other two contenders aren't causing lots of problems, lots of death, blindness even. There are numerous effects with the others, so why are we just focusing on that one causes blood clots and that one needs to be banned by these countries, and yet there's plenty of evidence that the others could be possibly either banned or suspended pending further investigation, and yet that's not happening. So I see this as a whole power play. Maybe it's just a cynical ploy to increase demand, or I don't know. So I've talked about martial law, changes in employment, industrial law. It's very interesting that the ruler of the descendant indicating the people is in Sagittarius, and the moon indicating the people is also in the ninth house, which is synonymous with Sagittarius. I think that indicates that the people of Europe will become increasingly cosmopolitan, increasing immigration, increasing sort of foreign cultural influences, because Sagittarius, of course, is the sign that involves foreign culture. We also have Neptune in the ninth house there, the ninth house of law, and I think we're going to see a dissolving of common law and a movement to a whole new type of law. So because I'm talking about as well martial law, I think we are going to see dissolving of civil rights that we are associated with. So I think all the rights we came to think we knew and we liked and we believed we had in a democracy, I feel are going to be dissolved. Hence they're indicated by Neptune in the ninth house of the law, law enforcement, and legal affairs, etc. But again, rebirth of spirituality, of course, as well, because we know we've got the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction coming. So the one way out of this yoke that they've got us under is by embracing spirituality. And you can do it in a David Icke way, how he always talks about changing your perception, not buying into the small I, realizing that this body is the least of what we are. Or as Max Eigen say, understand that we were meant to be here at this very moment, and therefore we all have an important role to fulfill, and that we should go with it. We should stand up for ourselves, but we should have no stake in the outcome. Or we could take the Christian point of view, is that fighting tyrants is obedience to God, and that we must get closer to our integrity and spirituality, and that we must not put our faith in evil people, but learn to trust in our intuition, in ourselves, and in the divine, either our angels or our divine guidance. So there you have kind of the spiritual element. Okay, let's see. I should say Pluto in the sixth, pensions. We could be heading for a pensions Armageddon. And the ruler of the second house of finances and money is also the sun, which is in the sixth house. Now bear in mind that's the unlucky house, indicating to me that a huge amount of money is going to be sucked up into social services. And I think this could also indicate your universal basic income, which would be a theme of the sun ruling Leon II in the sixth. That would definitely be an indication of universal basic income being rolled out, which would be easy in the UK because of course we already have the dole. As you can see, the house of debt, the eighth house, is ruled by Saturn, which is very strong because it's in Aquarius, which it rules on the descendant, conjunct Jupiter, indicating an explosion in debt. I think we're going to see continued mass monetary, because a lot of economists seem to think that you can print money ad nauseum, okay, and are even advocating it. So again, an explosion of debt. A massive change in dependence, because this house is also about dependency, being opposite the 12th house, right? The 6th house does have a connotation of dependency, so increasing state dependency, an increasing bill for social care, pensions, the NHS, which of course is a very, very big part of it. And I almost see the UK rolling out a global model of the NHS. Now, we know the NHS is changing and partially being privatized off, but maybe the kind of theme of what people believe it's going to be will be exported to the world. So those are some of my ideas. And by the way, Aquarius in Saturn, Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius also signifies the Freemasons, right? So it goes back to what I say about the aristocracy, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300, almost seizing control back. Because, I mean, really, life was always like this. It was always feudal. It's only more recently that we had the emergence of the middle class, and for about 70 years, we've all believed that we had a place and a time, and we had prosperity, and we could rise up the ladder. But maybe now we're reverting to what we always, how it always was, us and them, and a huge gulf between. So hopefully not. As I say, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction says to me that we are not going to enter that. So hope you enjoyed that, guys.